Britain's prison system is on the brink of collapse. It's a monument to poor planning, mismanagement, selective justice, and overcrowding has reached catastrophic levels, with prisons complaining that they've only got about 100 spaces shy of full capacity this summer. With the prison population rising by approximately 4,500 people annually, even the government's promise of 14,000 new places by 2031 falls far short of demand. This isn't merely a logistical failure, it's a moral crisis highlighting who we incarcerate and why. And the government's strategy, dubbed the Plan for Change, of course it is woefully inadequate. Building 4 new prisons on a greenbelt and installing 1,000 makeshift cells won't address the deeper problem. Demand is rising faster than supply. By 2032, projections show a shortfall of 13,300 places even after the expansion. This comes with an astronomical price tag of £10 billion, nearly double initial estimates. Yet prisons and holding migrants or asylum seekers, failed asylum seekers, effectively in detention, seems to be on the rise. Prisons remain what the Labour MP Andy Slaughter has called little more than human warehouses. This overcrowding issue has already forced the release of thousands of inmates early, 1,700 in September, another 1,200 in October, and while this avoids short-term capacity crises, it undermines the very concept of justice. It brings me really to the heart of the problem. Who's incarcerated? Who is imprisoned? Our justice system seems to have a knack for locking up the vulnerable while letting serious offenders roam free. You consider the tragic case of Mark, a young man with an IQ of 75, jailed for attempting to return to his family home, a place where he's no longer welcome. Mark's mental capacity was painfully evident, yet the system funneled him through a process designed for adults, fully accountable for their actions. And his 18-week sentence, a subsequent 14-day recall, achieved nothing but deeper harm. Then there's Annalise Sanderson, an 18-year-old with a history of mental illness and self-harm, sentenced also for 12 months for assaulting a paramedic while after a suicide attempt. Within months, she was dead in her cell. These cases reveal a system more focused on punitive measures than understanding or rehabilitation. Meanwhile, figures like Tommy Robinson are imprisoned for rule breaking rather than public endangering, rather than endangering the public. And serious offenders slip through the cracks. People like Assad, jailed and kept in solitary confinement. For what reason? This skewed prioritisation of picking up people who happen to be in the headlines leaves us questioning whether the justice system actually serves the public, ensures our safety, or merely its own bureaucratic inefficiencies. I've spent the last few years looking at the victimisation of NHS whistleblowers who are trapped often in the middle of the justice system. Why? Why? Because it's politically expedient, because the justice system is more intent on protecting itself and sidling up to its political overlords. Justice is supposed to be independent of politics. Justice is supposed to be independent of the elite. And yet, when it comes down to it, it's very difficult to see that in practice. The Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, admits we cannot build our way out of this problem. No, we have to change our way out of this problem. The National Audit Office has criticised the Ministry of Justice for overestimating how easily planning permission could be secured. Yet even if construction miraculously solved overcrowding, it wouldn't address the core issues. The sentencing policies are wrong. Over-reliance on short custodial sentences clogs the system without delivering any meaningful rehabilitation. And David Gauke's review, set to recommend alternatives like tougher community orders, electronic tagging, offers a glimmer of hope. But again, it still starts on the basis of constraint rather than constructive rehabilitation. Too many inmates suffer from severe mental health issues. They need care, not confinement. Prisons exacerbate these conditions, increasing the likelihood of self-harm and suicide. Mahmoud herself acknowledges that inmates often leave prison as better criminals. Education, addiction treatment, mental health services are grossly underfunded and are increasingly unavailable in the prison environment, reducing the chances of successful reintegration. Our justice system reflects the broader dysfunction of British government, standing alongside the beleaguered NHS, the struggling education system. The government's short-sightedness extends to punitive measures that fail to distinguish between individuals like Mark and violent offenders who could genuinely or should genuinely be behind bars. Without an overhaul of the system, we're left with a justice policy, with a justice system that is cruel and ineffective, and neither is desirable. What we need is more than bricks and mortar investment. We need sentencing reform urgently, and with a prime minister with a background in justice, this should be possible. We need to focus prison resources on dangerous offenders, not minor rule breakers or those with diminished capacity. We need to focus policing on sorting out dangerous offenders rather than people who've said something nasty. We need to divert vulnerable individuals to specialised care facilities. We need to equip prisons with the resources to address addiction, mental health, education gaps, reducing the need to send prisoners back to prison once they've come out. Britain's prisons are overburdened, underfunded, and morally compromised, inside and out. While we scramble to build more cells, the larger question remains, why are we jailing the wrong people? Until we confront this failure in our system, our justice system will continue to fail both the incarcerated and the public that it purports to protect.